All right, we're back with an all new show. Listen, Blue and Damage, what a week it's been over here at Hollywood Unlocked. I have burnt the internet down with the Kanye West interview. And a lot of y'all out there were shaming me for not releasing this interview fast enough. Jason, let it go, let it go. Kris Jenner paid so you can't do it. Let me tell y'all something. Kris Jenner, the Klansmen, the Illuminati, whoever you think out there don't like me or black people could not stop what Jason Lee do. I have to say, shout out to Kanye West for giving me the exclusive where we got into a deep dive of everything. As you know, we've talked about on this show when I dropped the two clips that went super viral, that we had a conversation not only about the altercation with the paparazzi and the argument with his cousins that were caught by the paparazzis, but we also got into his relationship, fatherhood. We got into the red hat and his fight with the culture. We got into all things. Yay. And I have to tell you, the internet has had a lot to say. And now that the internet has seen the actual interview in full, everybody is talking. Blue, thank you so much for writing the op-ed on that piece. What were your thoughts in watching the interview in full?
My thoughts were, oh man, am I really about to give Kanye another chance? I think I am. I think a lot of folks are mad at Kanye and they have valid reasons, and even he admits to that. But I think that you were able to show the regular Kanye, the human Kanye, that when we say we missed the ODA back, I feel like we got a glimpse of what we thought that was. But I also saw a father who was in the middle of a battle for his children, and that's what actually spoke to my heart. I didn't see the all the fanfare that he loves. I saw a father who really just wants to make sure that he can raise his children, and that was the most powerful part of the interview for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Damage, did you see the interview?
Yeah, man. Just to piggyback off what Blue said, as a father myself, it don't matter how much money you have, how much fame you have. That's something you feel in your soul, man. You know, Kanye's fighting for his family. He's fighting to be considered human. Like he said, everybody's putting him in his box, and he's also put himself in the box. To be fair, you know, he calls himself the Steve Jobs, you know, the present day Steve Jobs and everything. And people forget that Kanye West has regular everyday problems. So even though, like you, Jason, when you talked about him not having security, I was afraid too. But it's like Kanye is a regular person, and I feel like this interview helped people see that he has regular emotions. He has fights with his families, just like I do, just like you do, just like Blue does.
Well, I will say, when he says he's the modern day Steve Jobs, when you really unpeel and unpack what he's saying, and this is one thing that I learned being able to talk directly to him and sit there with him and study his body language and study his reaction to the comments that were coming out of my mouth and the questions that he didn't prepare for. Neither one of us were prepared for the interview. It literally happened just like that. The one thing that I will say is that, and I've told him this, I now get where the confusion lies with what you're saying and the analogies that you're drawing up, especially in a world where mass media does poke to get that one soundbite that can drive a bunch of traffic, because we are in a traffic and click-based business, right? When he says he's the modern day Steve Jobs, I don't know anybody else in the culture that's had more success in creating culture. Think about it. His assistant was Virgil. Virgil went on to be the men's director at Louis Vuitton. And as he talked about in the interview, merging high fashion or luxury brand with streetwear, right? Then you look at the other people that are around him that he's put in positions, like Jerry Lorenzo, who I met in LA as a promoter, who's now the owner of Fear of God, worth 75 million, and whose clothes I love, from the texture to the design. So he has had a lot of influence. His shoes are on everybody's feet. His music is in everybody's phone. And so he is the fabric of the culture. And what I learned in talking to him, what I told him was, you speak very abstract. You're not a linear communication type person. Like, I may say, hey, how is the weather outside? You may say it's cold or hot. That's a very linear, just straightforward conversation. He's very abstract in how he thinks and how he tries to describe things. I think sometimes there's a lot of grandiose examples that we cannot connect with, because we see or hear a name or an image and we identify it being either the most negative or the most beloved, that we can't make a human connection to the idea of what that is. And that's what I got from him. And I do love the fact that, and I've said this to him privately, and I'll say it to you, and I've said it to the audience, that I appreciate that he gave the opportunity and the privilege to have such a conversation to a Black media outlet that is not part of that mass media world. And so shout out to him for doing that, because there's a lot of people who've said no.
Can I just call out the audience though for the hypocrisy? This was a huge get, right? Because there are a lot of folks who cannot stand Kanye West who have Yeezys, and I need y'all to reconcile that with you and your Lord. And so His impact is undeniable, and a Black media outlet being allowed to have a conversation with someone who is objectively as culturally relevant as he is should have been a big win. But I cannot tell you how many spicy messages I got from folks who were like, I can't believe that y'all sat down with Kanye and y'all are giving him a platform to push out his hate and X, Y, and Z. And to the folks who are saying that, I need you to ask yourself a question. Deep down, do you believe Kanye West loves the Black community? Because if you think he is a horrible person and he hates the Black community and he's the devil and we should write him off, fine. I can let you have that. But if you deep down think he loves the Black community, but he said some hurtful things and he wants to find a way to make it right, what is wrong with giving him an opportunity to do so? We need to create room for evolution and reconciliation. And those of you who are mad at us for even letting him speak to us, even though the conversation was very nuanced and balanced, shame on you, because you're what's wrong with cancel culture.
Well, I
Mm-hmm.
saw another thing too. A lot of outlets that would either super zoom in on my content or cut me out of the video with Madonna and all that. I know how media works. And more importantly, I know how social media works. But I actually believe the audience is smarter than that. And I've seen the comments where people have said, Jason Lee, that was his video, or Jason Lee was in that, or this belongs to Hollywood Unlocked. And as you know, with the videos on his way to his kid's birthday, I licensed those with Shutterstock. And those who ran it without my permission or tried to cut me out, we sent them a bill. So ultimately, I can play this internet game with the best of them, run me my money, and also takedown notices will be sent out, so you will have it removed. But again, I'm now thinking about how many interviews I turned down. I turned down an interview with Donald Trump when he was being elected for president, because I just did not believe that he was going to win, and I honestly didn't align with his views, and I turned it down because emotionally I didn't believe it was right. And I've turned down not talking to Tekashi 6ix9ine because I have my personal feelings of what he is or what he represents, and those haven't changed and won't change. But I'm in the business of talking to people, so I have reached out to Tekashi 6ix9ine this week. I have reached out to Megan Thee Stallion. I have reached out to Cardi B, and I have reached out to Trump, because I'm in the business of having conversations. Now, I don't know that my conversation with Kanye will be the same tenor as my conversation with a Trump, but either way, I'm in the business of having conversations. And I do believe we have to get to a place where people show up and support the people that are driving the culture. I think the thing that I'm having trouble reconciling with is, to the Black audience, what do you want? What do
That's what I was
you
just
want?
gonna say.
Exactly.
I
Do you
was
want him to
just gonna
fix it or
say that.
not?
What do you want?
I,
First, you don't like Kanye, cancel him, but you wear his shoes and listen to his music. You don't like me, and you may not show up for an interview that the whole world's talking about, but what do you want?
I was just gonna say that. Like, who do y'all want Kanye? Kanye needs to express himself, right? Like any regular person. Who is he supposed to speak to? You know what I'm saying? Who, when he did it at his concerts, he was ranting, shut up and just play the music. Who do you want him to sit down with? Should he sit down with people that are not like him? He's sitting down at a black platform talking about his issues as a black father and a black man, moving through this universe as himself. There's not a lot of people that can relate to Kanye West. So a lot of things he say will be abstract, will be off the wall. But at the end of the day, I don't care what he does and what he says. I think culturally he's given so much to us. And I think the least we can do is listen and give him a platform to feel safe to express himself. So I'm glad you were able to do that, Jason.
Well, the conversation that me and Ye had about the audience's reaction to the interview was pretty interesting, because he's over in Paris, and we had a conversation actually this morning where I was saying to him that what I really appreciated the most, and I want people to get this, what I appreciated the most was that he did not tell me what I could not ask. He did not answer what I asked, and he didn't call me with one edit. And that, to me, when you think about the upper echelon of the industry, the Beyoncés, the Rihannas, the Jay-Z's, the Kanyes, those brands that are at such a mass level where they have obligations to corporate America and corporate infrastructure, they're very managed. And for him to do that, in spite of his publicist on the phone telling him not to do the interview, to do it and to not try to control it, I thought was amazing. I texted him yesterday and I said, can you please put this on your Instagram story? And he did, and he shared it with the world. And Blue, you wrote an amazing op-ed piece. And I just have to tell you, y'all, that's what Black excellence is. This cancel culture thing is ridiculous. I'm glad to be a part of the pendulum swinging the other way, because accountability culture is what we need, and that culture is here. But this whole idea of we gonna cancel people, no. And I've been a part of that too, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say, I remember when Doja Cat did that stupid stuff on the internet with the white boys. I say cancel her. I think that that was the dumbest, most ridiculous, embarrassing thing that I've ever seen from a female artist, I think. But she should have the opportunity to be held accountable for that and move on. And so I'm checking myself while I'm checking y'all.
You know what's crazy too is nobody on this show is a Ye apologist, right? None of us are saying that anybody's pain around what he said previously was invalid. So the fact that we are letting you have your feelings, and Jason, I love on the interview, you asked him all the difficult questions. You weren't being a yes man. You weren't throwing him softballs. You were asking him all the greasy things that a lot of people who are in the comment section would have loved to have asked him. And I love that he said, "I take accountability for those who I've hurt." So again, I asked you, if a black man has hurt you and is taking accountability for it and wants to sit at the table to figure out how to make it right, where is the issue with that? That's exactly the best case scenario.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because that was the conversation that I knew we had to get to. When I knew that I was going to sit down with him and talk about what he wanted to talk about, I also knew that there was no way I could sit there and not ask questions about the things that I've been bothered by. One of the things I'll be very clear about, there's videos out there of me criticizing Kanye. You can pull them up because I've said these things to him directly, right? One of the things that he did is, there was the moment where he was at TMZ Live, and he had this moment where they had a back and forth about certain topics. And then that led into him wearing the red hat and his relationship with Trump. I've never shared until this interview the conversation that took place between Kim Kardashian, Kanye West, Kris Jenner, Cardi B, and myself around his wearing the red hat. But in the interview, I had to ask him about it. And this was the conversation. Take a look.
Did you ever reconcile why people were upset about you wearing the hat, though? Because, I mean, honestly, like, I mean, not to get too deep into politics, I look at like all the conversation, even that Joe Biden was having with Charlemagne, saying that if you vote Republican, you ain't black. But then now that they're in office, I really don't see the policies being passed to benefit the people that you were going out fighting for. So I get it. I understand, the frustration or the guilt in the games that people play. But I always wondered if you reconcile why people were feeling the way they were feeling about you wearing the hat.
Yeah, you know what? I will say I take responsibility for the fact that it hurt their feelings, that it hurt people's feelings, And I also say, I believe now that people, not just black people, just across the board, they're realizing like, yo, you have to let Ye be Ye. You gotta push it. Like me and Drake was gonna wear Virgil Jordans at the show, and we had them. We was backstage, and when I put them on, I just didn't look like Ye. I look more like Ye with these boots on. I got this line on the song with Game where I say I wear these boots even in the shower.
Yeah.
Like, because how can something change if we're in group think? There's gonna be someone who doesn't take the program. And so I take accountability for when I've been ramped up and not had the right mood and attitude, but it was necessary for me to not take the programming and then to not, take the bullying and the manipulation. They want all celebrities in a position, basketball players, rappers have to say, yo, we're voting in the same party as the media controlled party, which is the Democrats. The majority of people who own the media are aligned with the Democrats. So if you don't align with them, they literally is like, yo, your career is gonna be over. That was really the biggest reason why I went to the hospital. Every day, imagine everyone in your life telling you your career is gonna be over if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton. Why I'm gonna vote for Hillary Clinton? I don't have no connection, to this person. Why do you have to defend your right? Why do you have to defend your right? What little rights we got? We got like 13th Amendment in the Constitution. They got literal amendments only based on aimed at black people to lock us up. But then we're defending the rights that we fought for. What's the point of fighting and winning to vote if you got to defend who you gonna vote on? Like I always had a difference of opinion to everyone in grammar school, everyone in high school. And I think, a lot of times I'm ahead of my time, 10 years ahead of my time, 20 years ahead of my time. And as a leader and a visionary, I got to take a responsibility to be able to communicate to the people who follow me, where are we going, Ye? Where is this going? And there was a blurry time where people are just feeling lost. They didn't know where they was going. Even for Kim, she's like, where are you going? Where are you going? I know how to get there. I know what this is. I've been going here my whole life. You're talking about building sustainable communities and all that, and how this is going to be, better. And people just don't understand sometimes where I'm headed. I have to take that responsibility as a visionary to move just a little bit slower, stop, explain, where we're going. And I feel that there's a lot more people along for the ride now, because I am a future president. It might not be 2-3 years from now. I might not, but ain't never been a situation I went in that I didn't make it better. I'm an industrialist.
Now, is there a problem with Kanye West having the confidence on being a future president and the idea that maybe he needs to slow down so people can understand what he's saying?
Ooh.
So much happened in that clip, and one of the things that we say often on the show is that two truths can coexist. And so, what was really, really glaring to me is Kanye makes sense sometimes. Nobody's wrong all the time, right? So, on one hand, we're mad at this man who is fallible, vainglorious, larger than life, unpredictable, X, Y, and Z. And so, a lot of us are cautious around him, and we have good reason. But the other truth that's coexisting is our anger towards Kanye is being weaponized against us. They're using our anger to get us not to listen to him when he is making sense. And so that's what I'm scared about. One of the things I wrote in the article was, who does it really serve to separate Kanye West from the Black community? Who does it really serve to separate a billionaire who loves his people, but who is fallible from the very people that he looks like and he can help? So I really, really feel like there's some powers at play here. So yes, Kanye has created his own bed, but there are a lot of people in power who are using those mistakes that he's made to stop him from being able to help the very people who need his help. And so that's why I'm nervous about us throwing him away, because the gag is, if God forbid something happened to Kanye West tomorrow, you'd all be posting his picture on Instagram talking about RIP, you were a genius. You would all be doing that tomorrow if something happened to him. So let's not throw him away. I'm not convinced we should throw him away yet.
Yeah, and I think, Jason, what you did is what we needed to do, and what we need to continue to do is try to understand him. Now, I don't agree with a lot of things he says, but I do agree with what he's trying to do when he's trying to build sustainable communities, his ideas for orphanages. So, women don't have to feel the pressure of abortion, that there's somewhere for those children to go. So there's a lot of beautiful things about Kanye. And he's polarizing, just like most people are. There's good and there's bad with everybody. But I think him able to have a platform that's for him and that's for us, our community, is really important. So, like I said, I can't agree with everything Kanye says, but I don't agree with everything you say, Jason. And that's just how life is. But we can come together and we can coexist. I'm just saying, look, we all have our own opinions.
And we hold you accountable, Jason, just the way we're going to hold Kanye accountable.
We all have our own opinions, but that's what family's about. It's to be able to sit at the same table, go through our disagreements, see each other's opinions, and work together to a bigger cause.
Yeah, a little long-winded for me. I want to go back to the part to where you said whatever you said about not believing everything I said or whatever you said. I have always gotten it right. But that's the point. I think the point that you're making, Damage, is the same thing that I've said, like cancel culture. And I talked to Kanye, and let me tell you something. Kanye has been on the receiving end of cancel culture for so many years. And so when I asked him what he thought about cancel culture, he had a lot to say. This is what he said.
So about last night, okay. So did we close the lid?
No, that'd be a fire thing if we had like a thing we did every week or every couple weeks, and it was just called So About Last Night. Like to kind of just put some context.
Anything you want, we can do it.
Yeah.
I've always said I'm not a fan of cancel culture because they've tried to cancel me. Thank God I own myself.
Cancel culture, bro. This is from the main person that's been canceled that will not be canceled, period, bro. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. Obviously, as a celebrity, there's a lot of people that are around me that can influence me, and no human being is immune to their surroundings. There's a lot of people around Kim that can influence her. As she's making certain decisions, she's just looking for safety and a safe place to be, because I do these ideas where, like, man, if I'm the only person that's not with Hillary, then she's getting like attacked so much, telling me can't wear the hat. And she just, as a woman, women just want security and comfort. But, what she'd ultimately like is just her husband, but for her husband to play the role of what's happening in Hollywood already. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case. Mm-hmm. You got Ye, and I'm here to improve on the situation. Everybody's still going to eat. It's cool, but I just need to explain to people just really clearly. The way people look at, like, say we got big corporations, they look at superstars like, let me see how I'm going to use your influence to get my agenda across on, on
Do you
daily.
feel like you were used?
Yeah, but my grandfather said, make yourself useful. You can't be used useless. And this is what, if you're not living in California unless you're presenting yourself to be of use. When someone like gives their demo, gives their resume, they say like, I can be of use to you. So then you could be used. Was I misused? It's like, maybe so. I'm sitting here with the Balenciaga jacket on right now, so it's okay.
I mean, that's the thing. I know there have been times that I have felt guilted into hating Kanye West. And I think that when you start to back up from it all a little bit and start to think for yourself, why can't we just agree to like somebody when we like them, not like what they do when we don't, and move on and allow the next day to be another day, another new day?
And also, too, when somebody that you care about says something that's dangerous, because there have been times where I've had to write op-eds about Kanye that were not complimentary. You guys can Google them. I always said, who is in his camp? Who are his friends, right? Because whenever someone is saying something like that in an echo chamber and nobody's checking them, I get concerned about their ecosystem. And so who better than a brother to check you? And the way that he was sitting with you, it was like two brothers at like happy hour having a conversation. And I think when we take away someone's humanity and we take away their dignity, we take away all incentive for them to listen to reason. So if you think Kanye has said things that were dangerous in the past or reckless in the past, us making him feel vilified is not going to make him listen to us. I'm not saying pandering to him, but you can't dehumanize folks every time they mess up. On his worst day, Kanye West is still a human being. And even the article I wrote and even the conversation you had with him, Jason, was not about agreeing with him. It was about humanizing him. He's still a human being. Black people should be allowed to make mistakes the same white folks do every day and still be allowed to be loved by their community.
There's a lot of people that benefit from canceling somebody, right? There's more stories that come out. There's more propaganda. There's chasing down the next story or the next headline. And, who knows? If you peel back it far enough, did we profit from it at Hollywood Hawk? I don't know. But what I will say is, in the conversation, what I was thinking about was, this is a man, this is a father. How do we humanize the person? And that through this interview, I think that was the thing that kept popping up in my mind, because there are a lot of people, if you think about it, who do benefit, as you say, from Kanye being canceled. If you cancel him, you take him out of a very important conversation around what's going to shape our public policy and our politics in this country. If you cancel him, you delegitimize him when he starts to peel at or poke at or tarnish the Kardashian empire by just revealing facts. So if you're discredited, nobody wants to hear you because you're crazy. I will say, listening to him, and I have talked to him on the phone many, 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 many times. I've been around him just in this last couple of weeks several times. I look for crazy. And I ain't gonna lie, I look for crazy. I'm like, all right, what is crazy at? And I'll tell you, I see why they call him crazy. It's the thought process of thinking ahead in the future. He's not talking and thinking right now. He talks about now as in the future. His ideas of what the future could look like or how it should shape, and specifically around politics. We try not to get too deep. I try not to get too deep into politics because I have a background where that was my world. We did get into it briefly on this interview, and he said something that I thought was really shocking that I don't know if people picked on. We all know that why, if you watched it while we were speaking about cancel culture, he mentioned during the campaign he tried to speak to Bernie Sanders too, who was a part of the Democratic process, Democratic side of the process, but that Bernie refused to talk to him. He went on to say he respected Cardi, but that Bernie talked to him, and if he was so polarizing, why didn't he want to talk to him? This is what he said. Take a look.
We're gonna make it better, and the people that's against me is like, yo, I know I might have a different way, or God is using me in a different way than how it's always been done, but this world is broken. It's like, work with me. Everybody know that Ye is the living, breathing Steve Jobs, living, breathing Disney, Ford, Howard Hughes. At this point, my track record is too flawless with that. You get me in the ring on something that's creative and anything you show it, I'm gonna simplify it. Like, people want to keep things the same and people want to change it because they're afraid. But what I want to just say to like everybody, like, man, you don't have to be afraid of change. I'm an empath. I want the best things for everybody. And I do feel like there's a blue water where there's places that we can agree on. You know, like it was funny. I always wanted to meet with Bernie Sanders, and he refused to meet with me. But I always thought that there were things that he agreed with that the earlier administration agreed with also.
This was before you were with Trump or after?
This is just around the time when I was wearing the red hat. And, you know, Bernie met with Cardi, but wouldn't meet with me. And, you know, I just felt like if I'm this polarizing of a character, why not meet with us?
I thought that was very revealing for him to say that Bernie didn't meet with him. And, I'll say that when you think about it, Cardi has over 120 million followers on Instagram. How powerful is it to have somebody like that who will get behind you and whose views align with yours that can help you share your message? And I'm not saying at all that, Cardi's not going to disagree with people because she publicly does. But clearly, Kanye had his own idea of what the country should or could look like. And if he offered to meet with Bernie, do you guys think he should have met with him?
I think so. I mean, I don't see the harm in not doing so. I think, if you're meeting with artists, you met with Cardi B, why not meet with somebody thought provoking like Kanye West? Like Kanye West is the culture, whether I agree with things he say or not. Kanye West has done things that have changed the impact of a lot of people's lives, especially young black men's lives. So why not sit down and talk with him and see what he's speaking on? And maybe there could be some education both ways. I'm sure Bernie is definitely educated in certain realms that can help out Kanye in his thought process, and maybe vice versa for Bernie connect more with the people he was trying to promote his campaign to. So I don't see why that shouldn't have been a thing, but it's ultimately up to Bernie's discretion.
Yeah, I can see why you guys would think that, but unfortunately, when I was working in DC and I worked in the news for a long time, particularly during elections, and one of the things that we saw very quickly was because of what happened in 2016 with Trump, a level of tribalism that took place during the last like 5 to 7 years was unprecedented, and optics became super important. People weren't even reading headlines. If they saw you even standing next to somebody they hated, they immediately hated you too. And so Kanye at that time was nuclear. So even if he was saying, hey, Bernie, let's discuss giving away puppies to orphans, Bernie even standing next to him would have made Bernie nuclear as well. So unfortunately, even though it would have made sense logically for Kanye to talk to Bernie, we weren't being logical back then. We were all being tribalistic. We were all being like, either you're with me or you're against me. And if Kanye had sat down with Bernie, a lot of Bernie fans would have turned on him. So I completely understand why politically Bernie couldn't risk it, because Cardi, no matter what she does, she's beloved, right? She's controversial, but she's beloved. And so talking to somebody who's beloved, regardless of what they say, is a good look. Talking to somebody who was very hated at that time, Kanye was very hated at that time. That's why Bernie couldn't talk to him, even though he probably might have wanted to.
But let's unpack that a little bit. I don't know if I necessarily think that that's fair. Maybe that's the way it is,
It's not fair.
let's unpack that. Is that fair? Politics are nasty. I worked in politics for 10 years when I worked for the labor union. I know about how unions endorse and how special interest groups endorse and buy messaging, right? But I think it's polarizing when we live in a country where black people depend on leadership to change everything, because we don't believe we could change it. We believe that they can change it. And then you vote for and you give your vote to people who let you down. I will say, now Kanye has not, and me and him do not talk about Republican and Democrat, but I have made enough money now to where my tax bracket falls in a space where I go, wait a minute, what are we doing with these taxes? Okay, and I have to say that I'm not happy with Biden and Kamala right now. I'm not satisfied with how hard they fought for our vote and have failed to show up. Now, I only have two choices, maybe three: independent, which never going to win, at least not now, or a Republican or a Democrat. And I will say something that he said was true, is we as a black people are guilted into voting for the Democrats. And I do think the craziest part is that the Republican Party has been so crazy now with its rhetoric and with the Trump ideologies that have just destroyed the fabric of humanity, in my opinion, as Americans, to the world and to each other, that it's hard to vote for them. So it's like, do you not vote? And then when you don't vote, some gets the position that you don't like anyway. Our politics and our political structure and process is up. And I think what Kanye is doing, both running for office, calling out people who run for office, befriending the right or wrong person in our eyes, is I think what he's doing is forcing us to look at the process That's never been fair to us. There's no reason why in 2020, I'm having conversations with city council members in my back home who are telling me stories of people being hung in trees in my community. There's no reason why there's not an anti-lynching bill. There's no reason why 40 acres and a mule is a bad dream. That's never going to come true. It's just a bad dream because America's not believing it. There's no reason why in this country, Black people are continuously threatened with the idea that one day we can lose our right to vote. And it's a shame that this country is not afraid of Black people. You plucked us out of our country, brought us here, you up the race by mixing it up, and now we have issues like colorism that y'all created, and then you tell us that we're not even valuable enough to be giving what is owed to us, or that we're not as human as you are, and if we don't like it, go back to our country. Bitch, you're not even willing to pay for the ticket to get back on the boat to go back to the country. So I just think that as crazy as this country is, because America is up, let's just call it what it is, that I refuse to not listen to what Kanye is saying. I am open to hearing what he's saying, but I'm not open to agreeing with everything he says. But I think he said something very interesting in that interview, that we are forced to choose Democrat. And I think about that video that Kamala posted when they won the election, where she said, "We did it, Joe. We did it." I thought for a minute, well, did she say we tricked them? Like, we actually did it, Joe. I don't know what that video was, but I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell people what to think. I'm just going to say, keep thinking.
You know what, though? It sucks being Black in this country because when you are a white American, you are voting for the party that will look out for you. When you are Black, you're voting for the party that would do the least amount of damage. So for those who say, well, Biden and Kamala haven't done anything, I didn't vote for Kamala Harris because I thought she was going to do anything. I voted because I thought she was going to do less harm than the other dude. And that's why the perspective is skewed. Neither party is for us. White liberals are some of the most racist people on this planet. They just do it more politely. So I never once was this. All of you who are disappointed, welcome to the real world, right? The Democratic Party was never going to save you. They're just going to do less harm than the other party. And that's what we voted for. We did not vote for somebody that we thought would have our backs. We voted against the devil. So I don't regret not voting for Donald Trump, because he would have made this, whatever this is, it would have been 10 times worse, even though some of you would have gotten tax breaks. Also, I will say this, a lot of Black people are conservative. So let's stop pretending that Black folks are not conservative. We vote Democrat because they won't lynch us to our faces. But like, when you think about Black culture and our values, we're actually incredibly conservative. I went to a dinner a couple of days ago and I'm sitting around all these brilliant people. We're having these amazing conversations. 3 hours into the evening, I realized half the room was Republican. I almost dropped my hookah. I was like, oh, wait, what just happened? But I had a great time. So I was like, damn, I just spent the night with a bunch of really awesome Black Republicans. How do I feel? I almost had a meltdown. So I think at some point, we're going to have to talk to each other, whether we like each other or not, because neither of them are for us. And at some point, we're going to need a third party, y'all. I'm not sure Kanye should be the president of the third party, but neither party is for us. Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, I don't, like you said, neither party's for us. Who has our backs? And I think what we need to do is figure out what we want to accomplish together, and we need to hold these parties accountable. So yeah, we don't have to represent either party. And I think as each election comes, you don't go based on, oh, I'm a Democrat, oh, I'm a Republican. Which one of these parties are going to work towards our goals and what we need as a community? And I think that's what we really need to tap into. Our community needs this. Democrats, can you make it happen? No. Republicans, can you make it happen? No. Then we're going to move on. Because I think this loyalty to these parties is what's been holding us back as a Black community. And I think us as a community need to figure out what we want collectively and hold them accountable, rather just blind leadership, blind loyalty, blind votes. That's over. It's played out, because we tried that with this last election. I'm tongue-tied today. We tried this with the last election and it didn't work. We're all sitting on our hands wondering what the hell happened. None of these promises that was made actually came to fruition, and a lot of us are pissed. So I'm open to hear what Kanye West has to say, but at the same time, we do need to come together and figure out what do we want as a community from these parties and how do we move forward.
Well, listen, I've been very public. Back home in Stockton, there was a mayor named Michael Tubbs who was endorsed by Oprah. He was endorsed by Barack Obama. Neither one of them have a residency in Stockton and know nothing about local politics. So I already knew what that party line was. He was a Democrat. This was the same person who called the chief of police when I went home to help kids and had me investigated without probable cause. That's the type of profiling that people do to Black kids every day on the street, which sometimes ends up in them being killed for no reason. And so when I learned that, I knew that he was not the mayor for Black people, and I made sure that I use my influence back home to get him unelected. I mean, to get him to get him not elected for a second term. And I actually went and got behind a moderate Republican named Kevin Lincoln, and I've been meeting with him regularly, flying back and forth, doing day trips to talk to him about the future of the city. And I'm going to be working with him to support programs. We don't agree on everything, but what we do agree on is public policy that supports the rebuild of our city and getting kids engaged. And so I have to tell you, some people were criticizing me. I can't believe you did that. And the guy, Michael Tubbs, even went and did an interview with the LA Times where he said that he lost the election due to a disgruntled employee who owns Hollywood Unlocked. I'm not disgruntled. You just were a house that snuck in the back door and I caught you and kicked you out. And thank God that you're out, because you were trash. You were bad for the community. And now I know you're running for LA school board. If I see any sign up, I'm going to do a viral video, because you shouldn't be out here either. Our kids don't need you. Now, let me tell you something else that Kanye did that I thought was good in this interview. He shared something that I was surprised people didn't really pick up. He said that he opened up in the interview about how Wack 100, who brought me and Kanye together, got Ray J to give him the alleged additional sex tapes that him and Kim had allegedly made. Now, when he said this in the interview, I did not see this coming. And baby, I talked to Ray J at least once a week, and I talked to Wack 100 at least once a day. And they did not tell me this, but this is what he said in the interview.
Well, I love that you're as iconic as you are fighting for your children, because I know you love them. And I told you at dinner the other night, you have 4 beautiful kids. You have the right to have an opinion over how your kids are
Exactly
being raised. Or
I got more than the right. I'm their father. It's all about trying to take the fathers out the home. Okay, you take the fathers out. I'm be so close. The kids literally in walking distance. I don't play when it comes to my children, and the media ain't finna play with me and run this narrative. And okay, so anyway.
Wait, can I just say something? What's so powerful about you being here? Somebody who's off camera is literally dealing with the same thing you're dealing with, but the public would deal with him differently than they'll deal with you because of who you are.
Exactly. And so this is for anybody that's going through a separation, and people intentionally do things to be mean and hurt you. You know what I'm saying? And to be playing games, and then culturally it's okay. You know, how you gonna bring me to SNL and kiss the dude you dating right in front of me? And everybody's like, oh, that's cool. Mm-hmm. After I went and got the laptop from Ray J myself that night, right? And then got on a red eye. I met this man at the airport, then got on a red eye, came back, delivered it to her at 8 a.m. in the morning. And then I gave it to her, and she cried when she saw it. You know why she cried when she seen her laptop? Because it represents how much she's been used. Mm-hmm. It represents how much people didn't love her, and they just saw her as a commodity.
People or her family?
I'm just saying that in general, because I would rather make that general statement, because I'm not here to be mean and be overly specific about that. I'm just saying this is the most transacted upon human being other than like Santa Claus or Jesus Christ. Is the most famous person in the world. And, you know, I could have my principles and things I changed and things where I backslid and I haven't been the best Christian and things the media can make seem certain kind of ways. And, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm Jesus gang. I'm about family. You know, since me and my kids' parents my kids' mom, we're not together, I'm still gonna be the best dad. But when you do little nuances, like I'm not finna be like Jackie Robinson where you gotta spit on me while I'm trying to like hit a home run.
I've seen you with Kim privately, and I know that there was a time where you all loved each other. So I'm hoping, regardless of where it's ended up, that they can see, Kim and them can see how important it is for you to be able to participate in the lives of the people you created. I mean, these are your children.
Yeah, and participate without no noise. Because they can go on SNL and make jokes. They can make jokes in the media. They could plant stories about whoever I'm dating, whatever they want to do. They can block deals. They could do all that type of stuff. But I'm gonna tell you straight up, don't play with my kids. Don't play with my kids. Whoever y'all work for, whoever y'all think the family is working for, I'm telling you right now, don't play with my children, and it's gonna be all legal. It's gonna be all legal, baby. You ain't finna gaslight me, and every night it's gonna be calm like this. But that's where we not finna play. It ain't gonna be no, cause you know what I'm saying? And this is for everybody that's ever been in a situation like this that didn't have a voice. This is what we on. This is what time it is. I got the house right next to my children.
Gangster.
Thought it was really clear there. It was really interesting that he talked about, there was this whole thing, and I'm going to tell y'all something that I have not told anybody publicly, okay? There was this whole dispute online with Whack 100 and the family attorney from the Kardashian camp, who basically said that Whack 100 was lying about having additional sex tapes and additional footage and stuff that that Kim and the family didn't want out. And when he challenged to put it out, I had found out about the tapes, okay? The alleged tapes. Let me say the alleged tapes. I found out about the alleged tapes and the alleged contract and some other stuff. And I was able to get my eyes on a video that I know for a fact that the Kardashians did not want out. And I told one person about it, and it got back to Kris Jenner, and she found out. And I was in New York at the Savage Fenty party with Rihanna, and she called me and wanted to talk to my attorney. And she explained to me that she had heard that I had some information and that she was protecting her family, and she wasn't the bubbly Kris that I usually talk to. This was very much like she was very serious. And I said to her I was at a party that she could talk to my attorneys, and I connected them. And then she started texting me back and forth, and I had to tell Kris very clearly, one day you're going to meet somebody that don't give a and my name is I don't give a. Do not text me that you want to have this relationship with me when you have me speaking to your social media basset hound. This is a person who has gaslit me and used me and done things to me and to our people that I think are disgusting. And she said I could come to her. Now, I will tell you, I knew about all that then. And for Whack, who manages Ray J, because it's the connection everybody don't get, I'm going to pull it full circle. For Whack, who manages Ray J, to then give it to Ray J, to then give to Kanye. Then for Kanye to get on a plane at Red Eye, as he said, I'm just telling you what these people tell me, and deliver it to Kim, and for her to cry was very interesting. Now, today there's reports coming out from a source. This is how the Kardashians work. A source is saying that there was no sex tape, that there was no sex tape on this laptop. And so we don't know who the source is because they never put a fingerprint on it. I have an idea, but whatever. And now they're trying to take that power away from two black men that came together, three black men that came together to make sure that Kanye was protecting his wife by giving her what was bothering her the most. And I don't believe that. And I don't believe that she didn't cry. I believe what Kanye said. There's no reason for him to lie. It's almost apparent that she's totally disregarding his feelings, flaunting this guy in front of him, and now he's flaunting Julie in front of her. It's almost like, what's happening? But yeah, I don't know. I was surprised that everybody missed that.
Yeah. Poor Kim. And I say that lightly considering the space that she's taking up. You know what's so crazy? Everything that you are talking about that happened with Kanye, I think you mentioned it in the interview. You said, I know someone who's going through the same thing that you're going through, and they're getting sympathy in a way that you're not. And again, part of this machine that is working on the other side, I'm not sure if it's the Kardashians only. I do think a lot of news publications benefit from watching this fight happen and create these great juicy headlines. Because let's talk about it. Kim Kardashian and Kanye are two of the most famous people in the world. Is that there's so much hurtful stuff happening that we're ignoring because we're dehumanizing them and we don't see them as people. If somebody just said, hey, this happened to the mother of my child, and it's not Kim Kardashian, you'd feel bad for her. If someone said, hey, I can't go to my daughter's birthday party, you would feel bad for them. But because it's these two huge names, we forget that they're people. So I do, in some way, and I can't believe I'm saying this, feel really, really bad for like the hurtful things that are happening to each of them because they're being weaponized as commodities and cash cows. It sucks to be that rich and famous sometimes.
It's
Yeah,
conditioning.
yeah,
Go ahead, Jay.
I do want to say though, also, I don't hate The Kardashians, I don't hate anybody. I'm just talking to one side at this point. I'm not talking to both sides. Both, the other side, I've given them many opportunities to have conversations. And so as I have not had those conversations and I've been able to look at things from the outside, my optics of how they move have started to change. And that's the
Hmm.
greatest part about being who I am. I get to make my own decisions. I have been a fan of their hustle. You cannot take their hustle from them. I've said to Kanye that he and Kim have four of the most beautiful babies. And I love that Chris has been able to take an unfortunate situation with Kim and Ray J and turn it into this colossal sized business. It's kind of interesting that people are alleging she knew about all the time it was a part of it all. But whatever, like I
Oh,
am not judging. I'm simply saying this door is open. Hollywood Unlocked wants to unlock it all. But one door, that Kardashian door, is locked unless you're part of that media machine over there. But I'm going to unlock it, baby, because I'm getting all my little tools. You know how when people get locked out, they call the locksmith, and then the locksmith is usually some creepy looking guy who pulls up with his little squeaky wagon and gets all these little tools out and tinkers around until it pops open. Well, I ain't no weird looking geeky guy, and I ain't driving a little squeaky mobile, but bitch, I'm out here in these streets and I'm a locksmith in these Hollywood
so
streets.
Chloe's coming on the show, is what I'm hearing. At some point, we're gonna get Chloe Kardashian to finally sit down with Jason Lee and have a
Well,
conversation. Let's
well,
manifest that.
we don't need Chloe. Ye spilled the beans on not finding the address to his kid's birthday and called Tristan to ask Chloe for it. So clearly Tristan is still over there with Chloe. We got that tea straight from the Ye.
Staying out of that.
You know, you know what's so crazy though, guys, and I'm thinking about this show, about how a lot of my friends are going to watch the show and what they're going to be thinking. I know a lot of people watching are shocked right now that Hollywood Unlocked, that me in particular, Blue, the social justice warrior, that we're not dragging Kanye and calling him all these names and wagging our fingers. I want all of you activists out there, the keyboard activists in particular, who like to do it only when they have Wi-Fi, to really, really look at history. Fred Hampton, one of the biggest civil rights activists of our time. There was a beautiful movie made about him, Jesus and the Black Messiah. He had all the street cred in the world working with the Black Panthers. He created something called the Rainbow Coalition. If you do your research, the Rainbow Coalition consisted of Black Panthers, Black people, Latinos, and wait for it, white supremacists. Fred Hampton understood that sometimes to help your community, you have to be willing to sit down with people who you completely disagree with to strategically figure out solutions that you have things in common. And so there's a long history of really, really militant Black activists sitting across the table from folks who they don't agree with in order to affect change. So those of you who are being self-righteous and refusing to talk to the Kanyes of the world, you are not doing any justice to those who came before us. You have to listen to people, even if you don't agree with them, to help your community.
Yeah, I mean, he also said in the interview and after the interview that he doesn't want me to have a negative opinion about the Kardashians. He didn't want to bash them. He didn't talk negatively about them. I kept trying to pull out of him who was saying what or who was controlling what. I mean, he was very intentional about respecting them and giving respect for them and just making sure he was clearing his narrative and controlling his narrative. So I thought that was telling. Again, that's why I've also said to other friends, this is a relationship that could come back together at some point. So for me, I'm not going to bash Kim or bash the family or bash him for anybody, because then they'll come back together and I'll be on the outside like, hello, I'm locked out again. So I'm very mindful that we're talking about a family. We're talking about people who have kids involved, and we're talking about love. And at the end of the day, I do think that there's love there for Kim. I think there is an admiration there for the family, and I know that they have some affection for him as well. I think in the end, this is all going to play out very interesting because Kanye did say at the end of the interview, "I got a house right next to my kids." So when they
Poor
come
Pete
out there for
Davidson.
school, Daddy gonna be in the front yard with a cup of Joe, like, "What's up, Chicago?"
What's up,
Yeah.
Pete? I feel bad for Pete Davidson the most.
Yeah, I mean, well, Pete signed up for all of that. I think it's all conditioning too. Like we look at Kanye West, we look at the Kardashians. The Kardashians had a very long reality show, and I think a lot of people still think this is part of the reality show. But in reality, they're just normal people going through everyday stuff. If it wasn't Kanye, if it wasn't Kim, this is really everyday things. It just happened to be with two billionaires, and I feel like everybody is invested in it. But at the same time, we have to say, like we always said, this whole show, humanize these people, everyday situations, just on a bigger platform. We just got to look at that, take a step back, and handle it accordingly.
Well,
Good
listen,
job,
thank you to
Jason.
everybody that watched the interview and was able to receive it. Thank you to Kanye West for allowing me to do that. And I don't know who's next, but we're going to keep on moving. And we appreciate everybody for staying tuned. Peace.